Welcome to the Integrate This podcast, the essential podcast for educators and tech enthusiasts. I'm David Berner, joined by Jeremy Mikla, your guides to the intersection of technology and education. As we explore the latest in EdTech tools, tips, and trends, join us in creating dynamic tech-forward classrooms. Ready for today's digital learning adventure? Let's dive in. Jeremy, let our viewers know what we have on tap for our upcoming episode.
Great, thanks, David. Hey, today we're starting our Google Essentials series, where we will be highlighting our favorite tools for educators and some of the best features that can be found in each of the different Google tools. In part one, David and I will be showcasing Google Docs. So as we are going through today's episode, be sure to add your own favorite features below in the comment section. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.
Okay, so I'm going to take us through some of my favorite features with some of the insert options that we have, and mainly focusing on drop down and building blocks, and a little bit with the smart chips and placeholder chips. The very first thing that you'll notice is if you were to start a new document, one of the things I like that they've added is you're going to see where they've already have these little quick buttons that you can use. So some of the most used is like your meeting notes and email draft, which I'll go over with the building blocks section. But in where you have the @ symbol, which is another feature, if you click more, you're going to be able to see like all of the options that we're going to go over. So if you're not sure where to find these things, that's where you can start. It's like a quick button menu, or where we're going to be operating is from the insert menu. So you have a couple options there. With this though, so if you're starting out and you want to do a drop down menu, what you'll notice is if I put in a drop down menu, you have a couple ways that you can approach this. It's going to have some preset drop downs, and those are going to be your review status and project status, but you can also create new drop downs directly from this menu. And sometimes it's not going to make sense. Like if you type in, or if you choose the new drop down, you can start from scratch here. And it's not necessarily going to make sense. Where it tends to make a little bit more sense to me is when you're putting them in a table, which you're going to see as we move forward with the building blocks. There's going to be drop downs that are actually inserted in separate cells, or they're going to be, be in a category. But for this, let's just do test, and then we'll do this as like, let's just kind of do a generic type of thing here. We'll say incomplete. We'll say in progress. And we'll say complete. And then one of the things you can do with this too is you can color code these any way that you want to. So, like incomplete, you could do as red, you could do yellow for in progress, and complete, do kind of like a stoplight coloring there. You can also delete options. You can add new options if it's something where you're going to need more entries into there. And then you can also rearrange things too. So like if I accidentally put these in the wrong order, I could do something like that, and switch them around. But I'm going to hit save. And what you're going to notice is that with the drop down, you're going to have this card in here, or this chip that they call it. And you can select that drop down and change what is being displayed in the drop down. You can also add things directly from there. So if this was already complete, you could put that in. And then what you'll see too is if I start a new document, and I go to insert a drop down, you might see, actually I gotta go this one, you'll see where that test one that I created is already there. So if I want to use it in multiple instances, or if I want to use it in a table over and over again, you could select it that way. It's going to have like your drop downs from this particular document. And then, as you notice, when I went over to the other one, the presets are always there, but the document ones are not because they're specific to what I've done with this document. So that's just a way of getting the drop downs in there right away. But like I said, this doesn't really have a home necessarily. It's just kind of sitting there in a blank space. So as we move forward, the building blocks part of this is some preset things that Google Docs has already built in. And so as we saw with the blank document, and we'll just maybe see if we can, yeah. So your meeting notes and email drafts are some of the more popular ones. And what you're going to get when we go to insert is they're going to be your first two. For the meeting notes, what we can do is if you click on insert and go to building blocks, you can click on meeting notes and it will come up with some calendar options for you. It's important to note too that when we've tried this, that if you don't have anything in your calendar, which we found out, you're not going to get any results. So that's one thing where if it says search your calendar and nothing is popping up, it needs to have those calendar events set up so that it has something to refer to because it's pulling from Google Calendar. So if you click on this one is an event that we set up in calendar. And if I click on that, it's going to fill in the date and what that event is. And then you have like your attached files. You can add notes and action items. And then one other thing too that you can do is if we were to click the or type the at button here, you could invite people to this. Like if I wanted to invite my other account, I could put that in, and then you can share and attach the file directly to that person. So part of it, what's nice is if none of that has been done previously, you're able to do that from within Docs if you want to invite people and be able to access your notes. And so because I work with Jeremy quite a bit, this would be something that we could do where, we're constantly adding in our meeting notes for when we work together.
That would keep us way too organized. I don't know if we can go that far.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, that's maybe something we should do a little bit more. But um, the other thing that's nice from this is that it does give you the option to email the meeting notes directly. So if you click on that, it's going to pull in Gmail right in a smaller pop-up window within the Google Docs framework, which is nice. So just the ability to take and pull events from calendar into here for your meeting notes and then be able to email the meeting notes out to the attendees. Whoever you put in here is going to pop up into your context section, and then it's going to have the attached file in the email as well. So it's a little bit of a time saver in terms of if you're just primarily working within Docs, there's some versatility there for pulling things in and sending them out directly. The email draft option is going to do a similar thing. Granted, it's not working off of the meeting notes. It's more so using the building blocks to start a email draft. And so you actually have the format of what you would typically see in Gmail here. But what's nice is it allows you to draft the email within Docs. And that's kind of nice if you're referring to some things that maybe you have in Docs that you want to write out. So like in your email message or the subject, you can put that all in here. So again, for this, I'll just put test. We'll put test for the email message as well. And what's nice is on these chips that they have available for us, if I wanted to send something to Jeremy, and it probably won't come up because I'm in a different email. It's at ecmec.org,
Or
right?
yep.
So I could put Jeremy in there, and it's not gonna put his in there because it's not I'm in a different email here, but I'll just use mine again. You can insert those in there. And so that's probably an important thing to point out too, is that it's going off of your directory. So whatever your email you're signed in with, it's going to have the directory from the admin console for Google is going to be what pulls in those uh, readily accessible emails in there. However, like once all is ready to go, once that's done, you click preview in Gmail, and it's going to do that exact same thing as we saw before. It's just that it's not doing what the meeting notes did with the event and the attachments that are in there.
I think another useful thing there too is it because it's in that Google Doc, right? If we were to collaborate together on an email that is going to be sent from both of us, but we were both going to add pieces to it, it's a great way to do that right in the doc rather than us emailing each other back and forth several times to get the draft of the email the way that we want it to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or like if you're drafting the email and you're just CCing me on it, I don't really partake in the drafting of that email. It's just kind of like you're doing it yourself, and I'm just gonna see what comes across.
Mhm.
So, yep, yeah. Okay, so that is the meeting notes and the email draft, doing it directly in Google Docs, and then you get into a little bit more um, complex things with the building blocks. And those are going to be your product roadmap, review tracker, project assets, and launch content tracker. They're very similar in how they operate, but I just want to put these in so you can see what they look like. If we do a product roadmap, you're going to see where you can list out your projects, you can add files, then you can also put in notes. And then this goes back to the drop down chips that we saw before, where you have, for this particular building block, this product roadmap, there are these presets for the status of each individual piece of the project. Now, you don't have to stick with these. You can add or edit those still, which is really nice. So if you have something that you refer to within with a given uh, project aspect that you're working on, maybe these titles don't make sense, and you could always change those, or maybe you need more. So that's where you can tailor that to whatever works for you and your group that you're working with. Um, okay, so you can add any of those specifics in, and then the next one is the review tracker. And this one I like because you can, put your person in there for who is reviewing that. Um, or let's say that this project is completely done. And so your next step is you have 4 people in your group, and what you would like them to do is go through each aspect of the project, and we're going to see their status here and any notes that they would have put to improve the product during the roadmap. So any aspect of what's on the project list here. And so you could put in more people if you want to. You could even add in a row below if you have 5 people instead of 4, and so on. And then you can go through that process. The next one is project assets. And so what that's going to allow us to do is focus on particular files. So whatever files are part of our project, we've got our roadmap, review, and then this is going to be anything that is involved in our project. So you might have, like, for example, Jeremy and I, we do a lot of different videos, and so we have different projects that we're working on. And even so, if we're working on like this Google Essentials series, each file might actually refer more to a specific Google tool. So this might be like our Google Docs file. This might be our Google Slides file. And this would be where we could keep all of those files readily accessible. You can write in a brief description, and you could put in a status. You could change the status. You could modify these. Maybe we do more of like Google Docs. Well, that one is complete. And so we're going to put in a complete status there, where, and then for our next video, we might cover Google Forms. And so we'll put in progress. There's a lot of opportunity here for tailoring it to how you want, but they have at least the basic outline for you for putting in the different parts of your project. And then one that Jeremy and I actually do use currently is the Launch Content Tracker. And this helps us with putting in for each of our videos and our shorts that we do for YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. We're able to actually put in things like, YouTube short, and then we could put in, this is going to be our short for Magic School. The date that it was published, which is really nice because, or what like our goal is for publishing. Maybe we put January 2nd, and then here we can indicate whether it was published or not, right? Or maybe we want to even add in something like on hold, right? We're not quite ready. We maybe need to put in something else for that. And then the outlet, what we've done for these is our outlet is going to be like YouTube, Twitter, etc. So you put all that in. And then our link to content, typically with our videos, what we do is we'll have like a show notes or things for particularly for our descriptions when we are posting a video that details all of our content and what's being covered. And we have a Google Doc for each of those so that we can organize our descriptions and everything. But you could link to that and then be able to access it directly in here. And so this is really nice just for organizing a lot of your content and what step it's on in the process, and all of your things that you maybe need to access or be aware of as you're working on getting that content out.
Right. And, and these building blocks, right? They're all just kind of like glorified tables, right? And so you can add columns and rows, you can delete columns and rows, and you've shown how you can alter and adjust what you put in the cells. So if the template ones don't suit you the way that you want it, you can edit it to make it the way that you want it, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah, yep. And I think traditionally, like what we're all used to is you would have a table and then you'd have text in pretty much everything. And so what changed and what's nice is the ability to use these chips and in a variety of different ways to just quickly select from a drop down menu so that you're not having to type everything in, right? It's already got everything preset for you, or you can modify it so that it's like a quick, you're just selecting what needs to go in that column and in that cell. So, um, and then our final one here, what I want to show is when you do an at symbol, that's where you actually get a lot of what we've been showing. So I mentioned before, there's several ways you can access these things. But what I want to do is with the placeholder chips, this is going to be where when you put your at symbol and you have your placeholder chip, this is where you can select what kind of placeholder chip it is. So when you're getting things like a date, or you're getting just your, text, like your, your drop down, or like a file for that far column here, the link to content, which is a placeholder. This is what they're selecting, right? So what's nice about this is if you're wanting to insert your own custom table like this, that's where when we're putting in like the published date, all they're doing is we're writing in published date, and then for our following column, as we go down, if you put in the at symbol and you select the placeholder chip, that's where it's going to allow you to select that date option, right? Rather than say like a person or a file, and put in that placeholder. So then when you go to edit this table, you're able to just select those things. And then same with some of the other stuff we saw, who's the person or who's the reviewer, things like that. Well, if I put at again and choose my placeholder chip option, then I can select people so that when I go to edit the table, it's going to automate to know that I'm looking for a person in this particular dropdown, not a date. And you can set all those things up for whatever makes the most sense for you. So I hope that helps kind of show you some different ways to use the chips and some of the building blocks that are available from the insert menu, and you can use the presets that they have, or you can create things from scratch.
All right, so now we're going to look at some of my favorite tools that we find within Google Docs, and where David was focused much more on that insert menu. The things that I like that I think are pretty valuable here within Google Docs are found under the Tools menu here. Now, you've probably used some of these before, like the spelling and grammar checker, but it has changed a little bit recently, and now those different items come up as part of the proofread. So I have this document here, doesn't really matter what it is. I was into whales for a little while not too long ago, so and how whales communicate with each other, which is the basis of this article that we have here. And so under the tools, I'm going to find proofread is now there. And one thing that you'll notice here on this document before I get into it, I do have some spelling errors in there and some grammar things that need to be adjusted. And you can handle all of those under the proofread this document. And now you'll see that instead of them popping up right next to the particular word on the document itself, it's showing up here on the side as suggestions. And so, okay, obviously I spelled the word number incorrectly here, and it says, hey, do you want to replace this and accept the suggestion? So I can click either here on number and it will change. Or if I have another one that is also a spelling problem, I can also click the check button and it's going to change that word for me as well. And then it automatically wants to advance to the next issue that's on there. So you'll see that it works for spelling, but it also gives you suggestions on how you can reword things. So instead of, for example, saying helps to focus, we can eliminate a word, be a little bit more concise, and choose helps focus. And it even gives you a little bit of reasoning why you might want to make that change in the first place. So instead of which allows, maybe add it to allowing. If you like the way that it is worded, you don't have to take the suggestion that it gives you and instead just hit the X button. And then that squiggly line then and the highlight that it was around those words is now gone. So that's really neat. You can also hear within these different suggestions, if you want to only deal with, say, the problem that you're having with conciseness, you can filter to just conciseness, and it brings up just the ones that deal with those particular issues. So if you had just spelling ones, you can go back and you can focus on just the spelling ones that are on there and handle those ones as well. So those are the proofread options. There's also some settings in there. Like if you don't want it to look at active voice, for example, you can unselect that one and it will filter those ones out automatically. Great. The next one here that I want us to take a look at that is also one of my favorites here is I used to, when in the classroom, constantly when kids were working on different written works and they had several different sources that they were going to want to include as part of the report that they were creating, they would oftentimes have to go to something like EasyBib, and they would then enter in the data about their source, and then they would copy from EasyBib and paste it into Google Docs, or they would have to have an EasyBib extension added onto their Google Workspace as well. Well, now Google Docs has built-in citations. And so if I go into Tools and select Citations, it opens up that window again here on the right-hand side of my screen, and I can choose the format of citations that I want to use. So currently there are only 3 different styles of citations to choose: MLA, which is what I think most schools are probably using in their English language arts programs. Um, Colleges get it a little bit more into APA. I'm not sure who uses Chicago, but it's there. I know there are several others, and perhaps Google will add those as other different types in the future. Okay. It's really pretty easy here to add a source. I'm going to just first, though, I got to have the source. So I'm going to just copy the link to one of my sources here for this paper, just so I have an example to show you. And I'm going to go back to Tools and choose Citations here, and I'm going to choose to add a citation source. Then you get to choose what is the source type. For this particular one, it came from a website, and then I just need to paste in the URL to the website that I want to cite. It says, does this look like what it was? And I'm going to say it is. And then it gives me the option to add any missing pieces that didn't come up in the initial insert of this particular citation. So I could add in an author if I happen to know it off the website and put that in there. If I happen to know the published date, I can add that in here as well, or a month, whatever it happens to be, and then add the citation source from the bottom. And it will appear and it will stay here in this particular document. It will live there as a citation. So now there's 2 different things that you can do with that. One of the things that you can do is an in-text citation. So if I find a spot in the article itself that I want to include an in-text citation, I put my cursor in that spot. I have the ability then to click the Cite button, and you'll see it put that parenthetical citation right there into that document. So I'm going to do one other source here just so you can see how it would look a little bit different if it came from a book. Okay, so now what if your source isn't going to be a website article, but maybe you actually have the hardcover book for that particular source that you want to be able to cite? So again, I open up the citations panel on the right-hand side of the screen, and you'll see that when you choose add citation, I could choose a book, for example, and I could put it was print, and then if I enter in the ISBN number of that book, which you can usually find on the back cover, then you are able to add that particular book. You'll also see that you have other options that you can choose of different types of things, and then just add in the information that you find with them. So I'm going to just show you here for this particular book, what it's going to want to do if I add an in-text citation somewhere here on this document for the book, is that it's going to put the little number symbol or the hashtag symbol, or if you're an old phone user, the pound symbol, right? It wants you to replace that particular thing with a page number from the book. So if I add in the page number where I found that information, and it drops that right into that in-text citation. The second thing here that you're able to do with citations is at the end of your document, if I put the cursor down there and I want to include the works cited portion as part of my paper, I just need to click the Insert Works Cited button from the bottom, and it's going to include all those different sources that I had used. So great, simple, easy way that students could be able to add those essential things to their papers, to their projects. Again, to help them teach them how to not just properly cite the sources, but give credit to the original creators of that content. All right. One other tool here that I'd like to be able to share with you here is also found in the Tools menu. And one of the things that I think is becoming more and more prevalent in a lot of different schools at least in our area, and I guarantee it's in other parts of the country as well, is that we're seeing a lot more students that aren't English language native speakers, your ELL students. And that for something, especially if it's really serious academic content that they read well in their own native language, they struggle with the English portion of it. Is if I'm going to have something that's going to be kind of content rich and I want students to have the best chance of success, I want to put that into their native language. And now you have the ability here with Translate Document to create a copy of this entire text in a language for a particular student. So maybe we have students that are going to be native Hmong speakers, for example. I can choose that. And what it's going to do is Google is going to, when I hit this button, it's going to create a copy of this document that is now going to be in that other particular language. So if I zoom in on it here a little bit more, you're able to see then that this would be something that would be able to be much more at the academic level for the student in their native language so that they could still kind of comprehend and add those different pieces to their understanding. So those are the three that, and you'll see it even did it for the works cited pages and the in-text citations. All those things stayed. So kind of cool. And those are the things that I think are going to be pretty essential, and I think are really cool features that they've added to Google Docs.
Thanks for tuning in to the Integrate This podcast. We hope you have picked up some valuable insights for your instructional and classroom use. Special thanks to Jeremy Mikla and all our viewers for joining this digital exploration. I'm David Berner. Until next time, keep integrating, innovating, and shaping the future of education. Happy teaching.
And don't forget to subscribe to our Integrate This YouTube channel and join our socials for the latest tutorials and discussions in EdTech. Join us next week as we continue our Google Essentials series with a look at our favorite features in Google Forms.